I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land we are recording on, the Camaragal and the Guringai peoples, to their elders past, present and emerging, and we celebrate the ongoing connections to land and water. Finding your purpose in life is one of the most valuable assets you can possess. I'm thrilled to welcome the inspiring Jeanette Allom-Hill. Jeanette has built the Lionhearted Foundation on passion and purpose. Jeanette is here to share how the foundation is helping women discover their own passion and purpose and live their best lives.
Welcome to Sharing Stories, Changing Lives. The host, Karen Sander, has the privilege of interviewing individuals from all walks of life, each with their own powerful and inspiring stories. The guests share their life experiences, and in doing so, they celebrate the transformative magic of storytelling. To learn more, visit www.thestoryroom.au and explore the private membership area, the Backstage Pass.
Welcome, Jeanette Allom-Hill.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Talking about passion and purpose, so can you take us back to the beginning of your journey? What personal experiences or early influences shaped your passion for leadership and helping communities?
You know what? I think I've been shaped by every single leadership experience I've ever had. I've seen the best and worst of leadership, and I know the impact that both of those can have on your entire life. I know that when you're bullied or you have really bad leadership, that it seeps into every single area of your well-being, of how you feel about yourself. And I know that when you have great leadership, it makes a difference and you're able to flourish. How we lead helps people flourish or stumble. In Optus years ago, I had a really chaotic leader when I first started, and that really unsettled me and didn't really make me feel safe. So, as a leader, one of the attributes I always hold on to is just trying to be calm in every single situation so that people trust me. And I think that's really important. In Microsoft, I had highly intelligent, capable and kind leaders, and I flourished. So I try and role model those characteristics all the time. When I was in Treasury, the head of Treasury was a really curious and open person and was always asking for thoughts and innovative ways of doing things. So I do that a lot. And as I get more senior, I suppose I feel this incredible, deeper sense of responsibility for other people's lives. And I really try and take that role very seriously. I live by that incredible phrase that with great power comes great responsibility. And now I help others through Lionhearted leadership workshops to apply a framework that influences their ability to make sure that they're brave-hearted in the way that they lead. So I think every single thing teaches us a lesson, good or bad, and that's very much shaped my toolkit of how I lead based on how I felt when I was led that way.
I agree entirely with poor leadership, just how it just works against people and brings out the worst in people.
It really does. And I actually think it brings out the worst in results. If you have exceptional leadership, you actually get great results in an organisation. If you have leadership where people are not feeling safe, or it's an autocratic leader or a authoritarian type leader, people will never be their best selves and you'll never get the results out of them that will allow your company to flourish. So to me, it actually seems like common sense when you think about what you're trying to achieve in leadership, right?
Was there a defining moment that solidified your commitment to leadership and community engagement?
I suppose, and it sounds funny, it was realising the power a leader has to change the world. When I first started leading well and I would make suggestions and people would say, yeah, that's a great idea, we'll do that. I think I was surprised by that. I was like, oh, okay, well then I'll lead and you follow, And I think that the power that you have to change the world, if you've got an army that trusts you and follow you, then for me, the inspiration of that is imagine the difference that we can make in the world, not as individuals, but as leaders that have an army behind us. Lionhearted leadership, we call it, we have an army that's shoulder to shoulder, in everything that we do, we lift each other and support each other's businesses. And I feel like the impact that we can have is so profound because because of the ability of power, or the power that a leader has. I've had so many defining moments. I think that first of all is probably realizing that I had a natural ability to lead, and then really sharpening that leadership sword. And now having the incredible honor and privilege to help others find their passion in leadership and their purpose. That gives me joy when I see that light bulb come on. It gives me more power and more fuel to keep on going when I see the difference that leadership can make in people's lives by just saying to them, you've got this, here are the tools that you need to go live the life that you desire and deserve, and let me help you do that. And then I get to sit back and watch them do that, and that is the greatest joy of leadership ever. I'm a bit of a fan of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and she has this incredible quote where she says, fight for what you care about, but do it in a way that others will follow you. And I think, to me, that has always been those defining moments when you do something that helps someone else, and then they get to live their best life. And it's like this domino effect of great leadership.
You just mentioned the Lionhearted Foundation.
Mm.
Why the name Lionhearted?
Lionhearted, or the definition of lionhearted, is to be brave with heart. So for me, I fundamentally believe that the things that you need to balance in leadership is this incredible grace and grit. So I think what makes the best leaders is the leaders who are brave enough to make the big tough decisions and do the things that need to be done to make the business successful. But the ones who are the most successful are the ones who can balance that with a little bit of grace and a little bit of kindness and a little bit of heart. So for me, Lionhearted absolutely reflects lion is the brave and heart is the kindness. And those are the two leadership traits I think that you have to balance to be able to get others to follow you.
It's a beautiful name.
Thank you. And I'll have to share with you, because the logo has a lion with a woman behind it, all in the same logo. It's sort of melded into each other. And it came from a painting that a friend painted for me of me standing with a big lioness behind me. And I was going through this horrific bullying situation in a very, very senior role, and I was really struggling, and I was on my own, and nobody was supporting me, and nobody was listening. And I really felt like I just couldn't keep on going. And that beautiful phrase, with great power comes with great responsibility, and the behaviour you walk past is the behaviour you accept. And I was sharing, my struggle with my friends, and one of them, Melissa McLeod, is an amazing artist, and she painted me this beautiful image and sent it to me, and I put it up on my wall, and every moment I felt like I couldn't keep on going, I would look at it. So Lionhearted's logo and principle reflects that feeling that if you're doing the right thing and you're not walking behind past behaviours you shouldn't accept, and if you realise that with great power comes great responsibility, then you have this incredible power inside you to keep on going.
It just sounds like an amazing painting that she did, and that they gave you the strength to keep going and just to look at it and go, I know why I'm doing this. And
yes,
and
exactly.
this is really important.
And for all those that come behind us, right? As very senior women, glass ceilings and glass cliffs and whatever else we have to deal with, it's very important that the more senior we get, that we live a way that role models for other women there and gives them faith in their ability to live and do the roles that they want to do into the future if they watch someone else do it well, right?
Well, we wanted to talk a lot about passion and purpose. And when you are on purpose, everything seems so much easier. And they say if you've got a job you love, it's your passion, then, it's not really a job.
That's so true.
How did you discover your passion in life, and how has it guided you through your, well, I wrote the words diverse career. It's like a mountain.
Oh, I love that. I'd tell a story about it being like a puzzle. I'll tell you about that, my pieces of my career. But I think for me it started, and, it's this mythical thing, purpose, isn't it? I remember spending a lot of time and energy thinking about purpose. Where is it? Is it going to come out of the sky and hit me on the head? Like, where do you find this purpose thing? Because it becomes such an incredibly big thing. But it came in little steps for me. I think the first part was many, many lifetimes ago when I worked for Microsoft, they did Gallup Strength Finder with me quite early on in my career. And for me, that was a profound moment of thinking, well, okay, this is my talent DNA. This is what I'm good at. So if I continue to just play to these strengths and do more of what I'm naturally good at, then I should be getting better, right? Is the concept. So from that moment on, which is a very long time ago, I've absolutely always played to my strengths. I've stayed true to them. I've really done everything around strength-based leadership in the way I lead and the way I lead others. So the first thing I do when I go into any role, interim or anything else like that, is I do strengths with my leadership team. I talk to them about what my top 5 strengths are and what that means for how I lead and how I think. I talk to them about what I need to wrap myself around with from a strengths perspective to be hugely successful. And I get them to do their strengths so that together we can have this ownership of who we are. And I love what you said about flow. I call it soul work. So you're doing what you love, you're loving what you do, you're in that beautiful flow. And that's that beautiful analogy. I love how you said mountain. But for me, I've always thought about my career as pieces of a puzzle. An amazing gentleman called Mike Pegg, who was worked with Gallup many, many years ago, was a mentor for me in Microsoft. And he said to me, Jeanette, think about your ultimate career like pieces of a puzzle that create this perfect picture. So when you go to a job, you say, look, this is everything that I bring. And he said, use strengths as a basis of that picture and then build all the skills that you need to create that perfect picture. And that's the best advice I've ever had in regards to purpose. Start with who you are and your strengths and what you're naturally good at, and then think about all the skills that you need to build to that to get you to where you want to be. And I've always done that and thought if I keep on playing to what I do well, then I'm good at it. And then I've built all the skills that I've needed around that from the learnings that I've had in different situations. And I think that's helped me, that foundation of strengths has helped me keep strong to what I do well, which has made my life feel purposeful.
Well, thanks for that. We can finish now. I've got what I want. I think I'll just go and write down all my strengths, and that'll be about it. I look, honestly, I couldn't agree more with you in terms of there's so many things I suck at.
Yeah, exactly. And that terrible concept, Karen, where they make you at school, and I get very grumpy about this, and my children are like, oh, God, Mum, please, is that, focusing on things that you don't do well and trying to do it more and more and more and disliking it and just not being in your flow. What about if we change the whole way that we educated children based on what they do really well? Microsoft it perfectly. They changed their entire concept when I first worked with them to be strengths-based leadership. So what did I do well? What did my team do well? How do we get them to do more of that? We move people around, put them in different roles based upon what they did well. And all of a sudden, revenue increased, performance issues decreased, attrition increased because people were doing what they loved, 80-20, because we're all a bit realistic, right? 20% of most of the things we do, nobody likes. But as much as you can possibly be in your flow and play to your strengths and do the things that you're naturally good at, you get better at it and you get happier and then you do well. And it just seems to make such logical sense.
Yeah, well, the things that I'm not good at come under the banner, a lot of them, of social media. Oh, my God, I just go, oh, my God, help me.
There are so many people who love that with everything that's in them, right? Wrap yourself, when I help a lot of women now, particularly, standing up their own business, because when we go through that beautiful Ikigai concept of living a long and happy life, we go through what are you good at? What does the world need? What do you love? And, and there'll be things that they go, well, I really want to do this, but I'm not good at social media. And I'm like, great. So you do what you do and then bring someone in who does what they love. And all of a sudden you're ticking all the boxes, right? We don't have to be all things. We have this incredible, I don't know whether it's a learning that we think that we have to be good at everything. I don't think there's anybody that's good at everything. And if they are, they're pretending, let it be said.
Yeah. You just mentioned Ikigai. For those who don't know what Ikigai is,
Mm.
Please explain. I do know because I've written about it myself in my book.
Oh, I love it. It
Yeah.
was such a beautiful discovery for me, and it's formed the foundation of one of the series, the Life series that we do in Lionhearted, because Ikigai is the Japanese concept of living a long and happy life. And go and watch it. It's called Blue Zones. I think it's on SBS or ABC or
Mm.
some fabulous
With
channel at the
Dan
moment.
Buettner.
That's the one. And it's
Yes.
exploring all the blue zones across the world. And blue zones are places where people have lived long and happy and healthy lives,
Mm-hmm.
not only just in the way they eat, but the way that they're part of a community, the way they live, the way they move, the longevity of their lives. And they've researched why people do this. And they've come up with these beautiful principles, 10 principles of Ikigai, which are beautifully simple principles like, don't ever retire and keep moving and get fit for your next birthday. Really beautiful, simple things. So at Lionhearted Life, we base a lot of what we do on those principles, but we use the Ikigai process of finding purpose, which asks the questions, what am I good at? What do I love? What does the world need? And what can I get paid for? And as part of our life series, we work through answering every single one of those questions using your strengths and using some really strong questions around what you really do love. And we create this beautiful equation that gives an outcome of, what each individual person's purpose is. And then we support them to find that and follow that and implement that and go live the life they deserve and desire.
How did you discover your purpose? Did you just one day, that's my purpose?
No, absolutely not. And I really think it's important to be very realistic with people who are listening, because there's this incredible expectation that some people just wake up and find their purpose, and they might. I think that's wonderful and incredible. But I think for me, my purpose has come from the lessons that I've learned in my life, from the number of times I've fallen over, from the things that I've learned, from the flow of wherever the universe directed me to. But I think it came from the foundation of understanding my strengths and starting to play to those, because that was the first step. And then I think it was doing things that I didn't love and going, I'm not going to do them anymore. And then doing things that I'm loving and thinking, okay, I'm good at that, I'm going to keep on going. And actually Lionhearted, which I think is my life's purpose, came out of a horrific bullying situation that almost broke me. So I think that sometimes your purpose can come from things that break you. And then, sometimes your purpose just comes in time as you learn lessons every step of the way.
Beautifully shared, because I think a lot of people just sit around sometimes thinking, what's my purpose? And hoping that it will come to them. But it does come from many, many lessons in life, doesn't it?
And it really does. It really does. And sometimes just letting go and flowing and allowing it to come, as well, and not feeling pressure for it to be something that is profound. But there are beautiful processes that allow you to find your purpose. Lots of different people have some great ideas on how. For me, it's sort of strengths and Ikigai. But, I think you've just got to stand true to what you know. I think if you really looked inside every single one of us and took away all the self-doubt and all the things, the voices in our head, and said to us, take all that self-doubt away, what would you love to be doing every single day? And started with that question, and then took away the doubt that you'd never be able to do that, and just move towards, because I think in our guts of guts, we really do know.
I know what my partner would say, Jeanette.
What would he say?
I should do that I love every day. Oh, just talking to people.
Yeah, look at that. And now look at you. I have this beautiful girlfriend of mine that runs this magnificent hatted restaurant in the Sunshine Coast called Bella Venencia, and she's got so many awards that there's no more room on her walls. And she started with going, you know what I love? I love beautiful wine and gorgeous food. I love Italy. I love traveling. Now what can I do that brings all of that together? And every day she wakes up and loves what she does. And you can see it in every single part of that restaurant, every food, every mouthful, every staff member, 80 staff members that she cares for deeply. And I watch her and I go, people would have said to her, everyone likes eating and drinking good wine. Like, how the hell are you going to make that into a career?
Mm.
Now she's living her purpose and doing it with such a profound sense of passion and ability that she's hugely, hugely successful.
If you're interested in getting more involved in our community, connecting with people who share your interests, you can do this by visiting our website at www.thestoryroom.au.
Can you share a story of an individual or a community that you'd worked with that profoundly impacted you and reinforced your mission?
So many. And I was just going to choose 3 sort of impactful ones in my life, sort of from the beginning and the middle and the end. And the end's not the end, the end's now. But, when there you go, the present, that's the word. I was thinking end, that's not quite the right word. For me, I won a scholarship to Thailand when I was at Teachers College, and I went and taught English as a second language there, and then I taught in the schools and then the military colleges. And before that, I had a really relatively rough life. I had quite an abusive family life. I'd come from a very traumatic situation early on in my life. My mother had a nervous breakdown, and as a consequence, my brother and I had sort of physical and emotionally abusive childhood. And I wanted to be a child psychologist. And my mother said to me, you are a girl and girls are teachers or nurses. And if you want to do anything else, you'll need to find somewhere else to live. I became a teacher and I absolutely and utterly loved it. But for me, I was, I suppose, angry that I had been forced to do something I didn't want to do. I was a very unhappy human with everything that had happened in my life. And when I went to Thailand, I got billeted by the principal of this beautiful school. And she was the most glorious human being on the planet. She was humble. She was grateful for everything in her life. At night, we would go home and we would sit on the floor and have dinner. And then we would clean up everything on the floor and we would sleep on the floor in this room that was, I don't know, like a shoebox, right? And this beautiful human would go back and teach every single day and give it her heart and her soul. And I felt like that moment in my life was the moment the universe slapped me and said to me, stop being such a spoilt brat and really be grateful for life. Be grateful for the opportunity to be a teacher. Be grateful for being able to teach people English. Be grateful for people looking up to you and wanting to learn from you. Like, just pull your big girl socks up and get on with it. And that was a really profound moment of me going, do you know what? Teaching is an incredible career. It is an incredible opportunity to give back, an incredible opportunity to be a leader. And it really focused me to be good at that because that's where I was and I was just going to get better at it. And I think that was profound for me because I came back after that experience and gave it everything I had. And consequently, I probably got pretty good at it. Yeah.
You don't seem the person that would ever do anything in half measures and not give the most of yourself.
No, I think my strengths are, surprisingly, one's called maximizer, and in Gallup Strengths, maximizer is the ability to take everything good and make it great. And my third strength is focus, the ability to get things done. So I think those 2 strengths in hand with each other really propel me forward to be the best that I can be and to get it done. So I'm just blessed with those strengths and I play very strongly to them all the time because I know what they are and I know how they're my superpower, right? And they allow me.
Don't give away those. We're going to talk about those in the backstage pass.
But, life shapes you every single step of the way if you let it. I'm working for this incredible organisation right now, which is a community-based not-for-profit, and we promote the principles of multiculturalism, social justice. We work with refugees, women, children, elderly, and special needs groups. And I had the opportunity to meet the most amazing woman. Her name's Melissa Montaro, and she's written a book called The Girl from Mumbai. Buy the book, listeners. And she is the CEO of CMSC, which is a community-based organisation that helps refugees. And she has impacted me just in the last 6 months and reinforced the ability to be a great leader. She is an exceptional leader. She has been the CEO of that organisation for a very long time. They do so much work in social justice and advocacy. They go into organisations and support them around diversity. They have this incredible change community that makes an impact. She is a phenomenal human being. And she just, waved her magic wand over me for a moment. And I just thought, it's so important to be the best leader that you can be, not only to your people, but to your community, to raise a voice for those who don't have a voice. So I think every single step of your life, there's an opportunity for someone to impact and reinforce your vision and your mission if you let it.
I think it's keeping an open mind.
100%. I love that. 100%. And sometimes we go into this little hovel of poor me and I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know where I'm supposed to be. Wonder if we just looked up and out. Like, I've tried to learn to just take a breath and just be and allow the universe to flow me where it's supposed to flow me and stop fighting it and just look up and go, what am I learning from this? Or who can I learn from in this moment? Why am I where I'm supposed to be? And I think in the busyness and craziness of life, we don't take a moment to take a breath and allow life to teach us the things that we want to learn. And I know that sounds woo-woo, and I'm probably getting more woo-woo as I get older. But I do think you're 100% right. There's these moments that teach us every single step of the way if we just stop and look.
It does concern me about how little time we all have now in this fast-paced world, that we just are on the go every minute of the day.
100%, just madness. And I don't know why. Like, I remember my parents were very religious and there were certain rules that you had to live by in life. You got married, you had children, you bought a house, you had a career. And I was working my way through ticking all those boxes at 100 miles an hour and just thought, oh my God, I'm so deeply unhappy. What am I doing? And I watch women, I've come to Sydney in the last 6 months because I'm bringing Lionhearted Foundation to Sydney because it's been in Queensland for its establishment. And I've just been watching women and just watching their pace and I just think, I'm going to take them out and I'm going to do what's called city to sunshine. And I'm going to take these amazing women out of this place that doesn't allow them to breathe. And I'm going to take them to the Sunshine Coast for 3 days, and I'm going to immerse them in the beauty and the pace of that place. And then I'm going to teach them to find their passion and their purpose. Because I almost think you can't do it here. There's so much. It's so fast. There's so much noise. It's so demanding. How do you ever take a breath and figure out what you need?
You turn off everything around you.
Yeah, exactly. You go to Africa.
You go to Africa, yes. What core values do you actually hold that influence your approach to leadership and policy development?
I like that question. And I've spent a lot of time in the last couple of years trying to be really clear and succinct about what values I think people need to be great leaders. And I have applied everything I've learned over many, many years and reiterated it and reiterated it and reiterated it as I've learned more and more and more. And I fundamentally believe now, and I hold true to these and live by these, that from a value perspective, the number one thing that you need to do is know yourself. So as a leader, I have learned, like the Ikigai process, what do I really, really love in the middle of my heart? For me, my values are things like safety, belonging, purpose, joy. They're really important things to me. So how do they impact who I am as a leader? So number one for me, the value of a leader is self-awareness. Who am I? Why do I lead the way I lead? Why do I do the things I do? To deeply understand that is profoundly important before you try and put any other skill or value on leadership, because everybody leads differently based on who they are and the experiences they have. Then the foundation of every single leadership trait is trust. You can't get people to follow you if they do not trust you. So for me, I go in when I am a CEO for an organisation and I actually go, these are all things I need to do to build trust. And I constantly and utterly focus on them over and over again. They're things like reliability, authenticity, my knowledge. I really make sure that I spend a lot of time and effort building trust. And then once I build trust, then I can have some courageous conversations. Then I can get radically candid because people know that I care deeply, but they know then I can challenge directly because I've built trust. So for me, believe in yourself, know yourself, build trust, then have the courage to have really difficult conversations. I think the other values in leadership for me are adaptability. Because of the world that we live in, you have to be hugely adaptable as a leader. You have to know how to lead change. You have to be able to transform. You have to be able to grow and learn. The other one for me is curiosity.
Ooh.
Curiosity is a glorious trait when it comes to leadership because it stops judgment. You know, I have a profound belief that everybody is here to do a good job, and I start with that. And I'm curious as to why people won't do a good job, or I'm curious about how we can change something, and I'm going to ask questions about that. And I think that leads to great leadership results. And the last one for me is consciousness. From a values perspective, I'm a very conscious leader in the decisions that we make, the impact that we have on the world, the things that we do. One of my dearest friends wrote an incredible book called The Conscious Leadership, and her name is Catherine Malloy. And I love her principles of conscious leadership, and I live by them. And I fundamentally believe that if you can start with self, you can build trust, you can have courageous conversations, you can be adaptable, you can be a curious leader, a curious and conscious leader, you will get results. It just comes naturally. I think the big mistake we make from values, you know, thinking about values from leadership, we're like, oh, I have to get results. How do I get results? Results are built by those steps, taking them, being conscious about them, really measuring them, and you will get results. So for me, those are the things after all the years that I've really valued in the way that I lead, and any decision I make, and any policy I deliver. I go back to those core values of leadership, and they've bode me well in my ripe old age.
Well, I think I'll come and work for you. I'm sold.
Except when I'm having a radically conversation with you, you might not feel that way, right?
I'm very, very poor at difficult conversations.
Oh, go and read the book Radical Candor. It's one of my favorite books ever. And there are tools that I have taken in my whole career that I just bring out all the time. And that one is one that I have used for a lifetime of leadership. You know, the ability to care deeply and challenge directly. And it works in every situation, even with husbands and teenage sons.
Radical
Candor.
Candor. Okay, I've written it down here.
It's absolutely and utterly brilliant. And it's simple and easy to follow, which is really important, right?
That's what I like.
Yeah, me too. A simple framework that actually works. They call it a better way to work.
What inspires you on a daily basis to keep pushing for positive change, especially when there's setbacks? Because it's easy to do that when things are going along the way you want them to go. And then you go backwards.
And I think, again, it's really important to be honest that life isn't all roses, right? You know, there are times, and in my life there have been times when I haven't been able to get out of bed. I was adopted and I found my birth family when I was 30, and it broke me, and I thought it was going to do something different, and I couldn't get out of bed and I couldn't function. And so there are times that happens, and I actually think that's life. You know, I remember when things like that happen feeling like, oh my goodness, there's something wrong with me and I've just got to pull my socks up. And, you know, that's what my parents would have said to me, like, stop being such a wussy girl and get on with it. But I think sometimes there are moments that it's okay for it to be really, really hard. And it's okay for there to be moments where you don't feel inspired or you don't want to make change and you're exhausted, and you've just got to take a breath and take a moment to fill your cup back up so you can keep on giving to others. I think that's a really important thing to do. But for me, what keeps me going is the learning, that I look at every single situation that I face, and I know that when I've got through those learnings, and that there has always been a light at the end of the tunnel, and there is always darkness darkness before a dawn, because I'm still here. Every time I've jumped off the cliff and grown my wings on the way down and banged my head and broken something, I managed to get back up again and crawl back up that cliff and try it again. And then there are moments when you soar and you think, God, I did that because I kept on going. And then there's that incredible exhilaration of absolutely being able to soar because you learned from the things that didn't break you. So that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? So I think what inspires me is knowing that everything I look back on that I thought I'd never get through, I got through. Everything I look back on and think that was the worst situation of my life, I think, God, look at the lesson I learned in that I can now help others. Coach, or when I do Lionhearted, there's not much that I don't know how to do or have done or can help someone with, and I feel really grateful for that. And people learn from you because you've been in that situation, so they trust you because they know and that's a superpower to have, and I'm grateful for that superpower, and I use it with great honor because I can help others that are experiencing the things that I experience and hopefully give them the hope to keep on going.
Without those hard times, there are no lessons to learn.
100%. 100%. And, when you're in them, you don't want the lesson, right? I remember just recently, because we moved here and I really struggled. We moved here so my son could finish his last 2 years of school, and I loved my home. I loved my community. I was as happy as a pig in mud. And I remember saying to the universe, my girlfriend gave me that. It's a beautiful, I suppose, a sculpture of a woman with all the cracks through her, with the gold going through her, which is that beautiful concept that, the more breaks you have, or gold there is, right? So I have that sitting on my desk, and I remember saying to the universe, no more room for cracks, do not want any more gold, thank you very much, I'm done, you can blah blah off. And really being mad about it, like, I've had enough now, I don't need to learn this. I was happy and I was settled. And I look back in retrospect and I think, what has it taught me, and the value that it's given to our family of my son realising that we would move states for him, because no matter how much he thinks my career takes all of me, he is my son and will always come first. And those things are beautiful life lessons, right? So I think there's always room, my friend, for a little bit more crack and a little bit more gold, maybe, right?
I think the minute you stop learning those lessons and stop having those cracks appear, it's the time you stop living.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's very true. And I think about it now like a toolkit. I think how awesome that I just put that one additional little tool in there that one day someone will need. And that's the way I think about it now.
This is the last question for the podcast.
Oh, no, and then let's start forever.
Then we're going to jump into the backstage chat.
Oh, the special place.
Upon personal legacy, and I could talk forever too,
mm-hmm.
Beyond your professional achievements, what legacy would you like to leave, and how do you want to be remembered?
I often think if I could have Lionhearted on my gravestone, but I don't want a gravestone because I want to scatter my ashes off the wharf at Mackerel. But for me, Lionhearted and what I get to do now, which is sort of the pinnacle of my career really, is everything for me around personal legacy. I suppose these statements around legacy for Lionhearted, which is around increasing gender equity, making sure that we extend leadership and economic participation opportunities for women, that we create safer, more respectful cultures in workplaces. If I can build an army of women that are living their passion, their purpose, and are just making a huge impact in the world no matter what they do, and every single one of them create this domino effect where the goodness that Lionhearted has given them and the skills that it's given them impacts another woman and another woman and another woman. For me to have a legacy that creates an army of women that are doing good in the world, that are seeing their brilliance for the way I've always seen it and living their best lives, and the impact that we can have on the things that are awful will make such a big difference. And if somehow Lionhearted can do that, even in a small way, then that's my legacy, and I'm very grateful for it.
Well, you've made an impact on me today.
Thank you, lovely. Ditto.
Yeah, I'm really loving talking to you because you make reference to a lot of things that we need constantly to be reminded.
Yeah.
Sharing this story today is actually going to change lives, because people will become more aware, especially women, of the work that you're doing. And hopefully some of them will jump on board and learn from you and make differences in other people's lives. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. I am so incredibly grateful.
We're going to jump backstage. Do you know about the backstage chat?
Oh, I did. I had a bit of a Google about it and had a look on your website. I thought, I love that so much. What a great idea that you get to come backstage. Well, those lucky listeners, I tell you.
We've got a little green room out there now. Do you want a gin and tonic or a cup of tea?
Can I have a margarita with chili salt on the rim, please? And can I have it in a deep glass, not like a glass, but a beautiful deep glass?
Yeah, for sure. Look, I'll just put that on order while you and I just stroll out there. But I'm just going to say goodbye to everyone and thank you for listening. And if you like the podcast, you love this episode, share it with your friends and make a comment on the social media or on Spotify or Apple. Jeanette and I, we're going walking now to the backstage chat. You can join us there as well.
Come join. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Sharing Stories, Changing Lives. We'd like to invite you to support us by purchasing a Backstage Pass, costing about the same as 2 cups of coffee each month. With the Backstage Pass, you'll gain access to workshops and exclusive content, including videos from our live events. You can do this by visiting our website at www.thestoryroom.au. We can continue to show that sharing stories changes lives.